Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are out there. Again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning into the Merchant Services Slayers group. Today, we're going to be covering a couple different topics and a few quick short videos here in Bangkok, doing a few things at night here on the roof. So we'll go ahead and get this thing started. So first off, guys, one of the things that I wanted to talk about today is some of the recent issue that we've actually had, we've been dealing with high payments, as well as from some of our agents. And then, some other people have requested to talk about this topic. And this is basically how to deal with feedbacks, okay? Now, this is a very, very strong thing because I have a lot of agents that are in this group that go after very large customers, and that can be a different story, or agents go after smaller customers between $5,000 to $10,000 a month in volume, all the way up to $1 million a month in volume. And again, at the end of the day, there is a kind of a standard practice and a way that you should deal with what we call BBACs, or rescheduled appointments, or processes where you have to come back multiple times, okay? Now, speaking from a lot of different experience, guys, working in the field for at least 10 years in the field, going business to business, meeting with business owners, I want to talk about 3 different things here that are going to help you learn how to deal with the BBAC scenario, okay? And the first one is that you need to understand, so number one is that you need to understand is that the numbers are not good for BBACs, okay? And the reason why is a few different things. First off, remember, in most cases, people that are watching this video, merchants are the ones that didn't call us. Okay, it's not usually an outreach. Usually out there prospecting, you have a call center setting you leads. You're actually going out to get business, and that's what we specialize in. We go out to get business and make it to our business, right? And when you're looking in that scenario, you have to understand from the merchant's perspective, putting yourself into their shoes, you understand that they didn't reach us. They didn't come to us. They weren't looking, which means that they're pretty confident and happy with the current situation that they're in. Therefore, they will have a lot of reservations from changing to what they currently have to what you have to offer, okay? They're gonna have reservations. And a lot of agents need to put themselves in that situation to understand is that the numbers are not good. As soon as you step out that door, your 1 foot leaves that door, out, you say, okay, great, I'll be back. You run into a scenario where a merchant is going to be completely happy with staying with what they have, and they'll even make up excuses, okay? And Craig talks about this a lot, and I take this a lot, that, there is a certain saying that we use when we're looping and we're controlling merchants to where we say, listen, are you just making an excuse not to do this? And most of the time, yes, they're making an excuse not to do business with you. No matter how good your product is, no matter how much they like you, whether you cover the 4 Ps or not, they're in a situation where they're not gonna do business with you because they're already happy with what they have. They're currently in a situation where their system works. They might not be happy with what they have, but they are in a situation where the thing works, okay? It works. It gets them from point A to point B. It handles their certain situation. So that means that they're more likely gonna stay with their solution. For you, yes, you can say, at the end of the day, for a merchant that's comfortable, for your paycheck, that's not good. That is not a good situation to handle, okay? And that's the problem. That's where you're running into a situation where it's just not a good idea. To understand the numbers don't work will allow you to understand that, you need to find solutions to work your way around that objection, solutions to work your way around the problem so that you don't have to come back. This is an industry where it's okay to push. If it's an industry where they have to come out of pocket, like they have to buy a car, they have to have insurance, they have to buy a house, it might be okay to be back because you're not saving them money. You're not putting them in a better situation, and you're actually selling them a product where they have to trade that asset for the value of the money that they're going to give you. So they probably should think about it. Processing is one of the only industries where you're probably going to replicate what they currently have, but you're doing it for much, much cheaper. Okay. And if that's the true and honest case, they should be doing it today. They should not be waiting for tomorrow. They should not be asking you to come back. Okay. So again, number one, understand the numbers are not in your favor. Okay. So learn how to make sure that those BBACs are handled. That brings me to point number 2, and it's called the BBAC bus story. Okay. And this is a very strong story that I use in every situation when a merchant would like to quote unquote BBAC me. When they say you need to come back, I need to talk with my partner, I'm going to discuss this later and then we'll meet, or I'll call you, let me check my schedule. All of these are what we call BBACs. That means that you're going to leave the location, let them think about it, and then you're going to come back. Now I want you to think of the sale as like a fire. Okay, you're feeding the fire. And basically, when a merchant convinces you that you need to come back, they're pretty much saying that at the end of the day, this fire will be a lot bigger without all the wood when you come back to meet me. And you're gonna say, well, Carson, that's just not true. And that is exactly true, okay? So what we're trying to say is that people buy based off of emotion and energy, and that fire is gonna dwindle down to nothing. So if you think you're gonna come back and sell that deal without building that fire back up and emotions back up with that merchant, you're crazy. So you need to understand that there's a BBAC bus story that we used to use with merchants. We used to explain it, and it's a very good thing. And I'm gonna share that with you right now, and it's gonna be very, very good. So usually when I'd go through all of my looping, so I'm going through with this merchant, and I'm throwing a Jordan Belfort close, I'm coming back to the response, then I'm throwing another close, then I'm coming back to a response, response, and then another close, and finally we're at the very end and they're still just pushing me off. Okay, then I give them the Be Back Bus story. I say, John, do you mind if I share a story with you? Now look, I understand that you really want me to come back and you have to do this, and we've covered this, but let me tell you this. I completely trust you. We've been here for a long time. We've had enough rapport. We've been friends. You know, and I know about your family, and we talked about all this, but let me tell you one thing, okay? And I used to share this for real with my merchants. I say, well, before I got into processing, I actually used to own a gym, and we used to have people that came through that had like diabetes and all sorts of different stuff, and I was a trainer. So what would happen is we'd take them through this free personal training session, then we'd sit them down, we'd do a full analysis, and then we'd say, listen, this is what personal training is going to cost, and it's a good investment because it's in your health, going to change your life and all sorts of stuff. And sometimes it would be a lot more expensive. We had a lot of trainers that were very good, and they would charge a lot more than what the normal rate would be going. So what we did to help the sales staff, okay, is we took this big paper, not paper mache, but construction paper bus. You know, the construction paper you used to have when you were in kindergarten. We made a big bus, big yellow bus, and we called it the Be Back Bus. And we put it right in the middle of the gym, right by the personal training section. Okay, and this is a tip that I learned from when I used to sell cars, and we had one at the dealership as well. And on this bus, okay, it would say the Be Back Bus, and we would say, listen, I know that you want to talk with your husband about this. I know that you think $100 an hour is too much, or 70 bucks an hour, or 80 bucks or 100 bucks an hour is too much, you know, for a 12-week course or whatever. But you know, it's with your investment, it's with your money. So we try the looping again. So with your merchant, you're doing the looping. But then you finally come back, they're just like, listen, I got to do this. I got to come back. 95% of the time, they're not going to come back. They're not going to call you. So when you share this story, you say, listen, Mr. Merchant, John, you know, I used to do a personal training gym, and you can use this story however you might have used it. You say, hey, one of my boss had a personal training gym or a car dealership, and he actually put this bus called the Be Back Bus on the wall, you know, big paper mache bus like the Magic School Bus, right? And then what they'd say is, you know what, John, or you say, John, you know, listen, do you mind if I share the story, start talking the story? So the lady would come in and she'd say, well, listen, Carson, I just can't afford it, or we can work over that objection, but you know, now I can afford it. I really want to do it, but I got to think about it a little bit more. I got to come back. I got to be back, right? So then we'd say, listen, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to write your name up on the Be Back Bus. And then as soon as you come back here and you sign up with personal training sessions, then we'll go ahead and we'll get you started. So I'm going to give you a magic marker. You go over here and write that name up on that bus. And then as soon as you come back, we'll cross it off. And I'd say, but Judy, I'd strongly urge you to understand is that if you look over at that bus, see how many names are on there. She'd look over, she'd see all these names written on there. It's about 200 names on the Be Back Bus. Guess how many names were actually crossed off, John? 2. So when you tell me that you're gonna come back and I'll write your name up there and then you do business with me and then I'll go ahead and we'll cross it off, there's 2 out of 200 names crossed off. You can see how I'm not necessarily believing it, which leads me to step number 3, guys, or point number 3 on how to deal with feedbacks. This is when after that story, you transition to finding the real objection. You can say, John, listen, I completely understand there might be something else. Okay, and this is when you would go into the 4 Ps, and I'll talk about the 4 Ps in another video coming up shortly, something completely different. But let's say you cover that, right? You cover the Be Back Bus story. You say, John, you see if there's 200 names on the bus, I'm gonna write your name up on the bus, and I leave today, and you think you wanna do processing with us or business with us, and everything's good, I'm good, the product's good, everything's great, but then you say I'm going to cross your name up when you do cross your name off when we're in your business so we can meet again. You can see that the numbers aren't in my favor, right? And the merchant usually, if you tell it right, will end up laughing. And then you say, well, that brings us to the 3rd point, which is finding the real objection. You have to say, John, listen, I really want to know what the true issue is, okay? And most people don't do business because they don't like the person they're working with, the company, the product, or the price. And those are the 4 Ps. So you tell me, I mean, which one is it? Let's go through one at a time. First off, is it the product? Do you like the product that we sell? Is it cash discounting? Do you want to charge your customer dual pricing? Okay, well, no, it's not that. We covered that. You had that before. Great. Is it the person? Do you like me? Are we good to go? Da 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 da. Okay. And he says, well, great. I said, well, are you okay with the price? I mean, you were paying $1,000 a month. Now with us, you'll pay 50 to 100 every single month for the equipment. You'll pay nothing else. Is that okay? Great. Well, then what is it? Is it the company? I said, yes. In the past, I got screwed over before. Oh, okay. So it's the place. Person, price, product, or place, right? So the place. So let's do some research on pie payments. And he goes, oh, that would be great. Let me do my own research. He goes, no, unfortunately, we can't do that. Okay. Like I said, the numbers are not in my favor. You can do your own research. You can do all this, but as soon as I walk out that door, there's a good chance you're just gonna be happy with what you have. And that's okay, John, but I don't want you to miss out on a great opportunity to work with us. So find out the true objection. I just found out with John, the true objection, okay, is the place. I said, great, I have my laptop in my car. Let me pull this out. We'll do research on pie payments. We'll look up our reviews. I have a couple testimonial videos. We'll do this right now. He says, look, I don't have a ton of time. Well, let's do a little bit of time. Let's watch one video. Go through one video. You keep going, you keep going, you keep going. Even if the merchant has to go back and cook, you say, you know what? I'm gonna wait right over here. Let me come back at 4, or let me come back at 2. Okay, that's not a real be back, because a be back is like the next day, right? You don't want to let this merchant out of your sight. So the merchant comes back, you come back, you show more stuff on the company, so on and so forth. Now you have a shot. That's how you deal with be backs, guys. So just to recap those 3 things. Number 1, understand the numbers are not in your favor. Number 2, tell the be back bus story. Some sort of fashion, recreate it for your past experience, but tell them the be back bus story and look at the numbers. And then number 3, find the real objection. So keep rocking and rolling out there. Let's kick some ass, guys, and I'll see you out there on the sales board. Thanks for tuning in.